Ready for the video?
I am. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
I think so. I think that's what
Most
I've
of them,
heard.
That's a great
everything
point.
that the camera
Almost
of
like
the
a
eye
computer
sees,
remembering
it captures and
everything.
it's stored
Yes, you're not
forever.
remembering, but the computer or your
Yeah.
May not be
subconscious mind.
consciously there. Think.
Wow, only
But in
2%.
2% of the cases, it
interesting.
may be true.
That is. We're thinking about
But
it.
you just saw those.
Yes.
So
So is it me actually thinking or thinking happiness?
did it already be presented towards you?
That's a question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, well, I think, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm
Present practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and
Heather.
And today we're responding to Sadhguru's video on
Why does deja vu happen?
My name is Vish, and I'm an aspiring yogi, love all things meditation, yoga, and wisdom based. And I'm grateful to have Heather today. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Heather. I actually run a True Rest float spa, sensory deprivation, does kind of the meditation thing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Heather. And before we start, would love to hear what your thoughts are. Yeah, you watching right there about deja vu. Does it happen to you? Do you believe in it? Do you think it's just a made-up thing? In the comments down below. And before we start, Heather, what are your thoughts on deja vu?
Deja vu is a weird subject. I mean, it's weird when it happens. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what he has to say about it.
Me too. Not sure what to expect.
Let's do this.
Perfect.
See, your mind has so many compartments. Most of them have not been opened up. Everything that you have perceived, everything, even if you have perceived it unconsciously, it is still there. A few people might have experienced this, that they went to a place and it's almost like everything about
I've
it they know.
experienced this, have you?
I have.
This is gonna be interesting.
So what's deja vu? It feels like you go to some place or you see somebody or some situation, it looks like you've already been there or you already known this or known this person or thing or experience or whatever. 90% of the time, it could be just a psychological process.
That's
See, your mind
interesting.
has so many compartments.
I think so. I think that's what I've
Most
heard.
of them have not
Me
been
too.
opened up. Most of
I
them.
love this dramatic music too, by the
Do
way.
you know people become schizophrenic? And there have been people who have over 30 different personalities. Do you know? Over 30 personalities who play 30 personalities full scale, with total detail, without any hassle. Not just 30, if you want you can play 3 million, because the mind is so elaborate. If you open up all, if you want to play 3 million roles, you can play 3 million
That's
roles.
a big number.
But
It's a
it's
huge
happening
number.
as a disease, so it's a problem. If it was happening consciously, there was no problem, isn't it? And many people are playing roles consciously too, isn't it? So, there are many spaces in the head that you don't know. It's one thing with your mind is, everything that you have perceived, everything, even if you have perceived it unconsciously, it is still there. You're just walking on the street, you're driving through the streets at 70, 80 miles per hour, most of it you think, you don't even notice it consciously. But
That's a great
everything
point.
that the camera
Almost
of
like
the
a
eye
computer
sees,
remembering
it captures and
everything.
it's stored
you're not
forever.
remembering, but the computer or your
Yeah.
May not be
subconscious mind.
consciously there, but it's all there. The same goes for all the five senses. Every sound that you heard, every smell that you smelled, every taste that you have been tasted and everything that you have touched and felt, it's all recorded.
Heather, what are your thoughts so far? I mean, I feel like he's kind of touched on the answer, but what do you think?
So deja vu, from what I've been told, is something that your brain is just slowly processing. Like what you see, your brain's just a little late in reaction. And then others I've heard, you've actually dreamt about it before it's happened. So
Which one do you think is true from your just personal, I mean, there's no right or wrong, but what do you think?
I think it's dreaming. I think you kind of see
Can manifest?
Yeah, I think so.
Would love to hear what you all think about manifestation. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's not real? In the comments down below. And yeah, definitely quite interesting. I definitely have heard what you've heard too with the scientific aspect of it, with the whole late processing, so it creates that effect, which whenever I've had those moments, I'm like, yeah, I think it's probably just that, it makes sense. But I also love this perspective, which is essentially him talking about the unconscious, or in this case, subconscious, impressions that are being, taken in by the body and the mind. And then I guess it's almost like, something that you unconsciously remember, but then you face that again, and then you think you haven't experienced it, but then you have. It's whatever weird thing.
Right.
So I think that makes sense too. What do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense from what you're saying. I just feel like deja vu, when it's happened to me, it's been so long before. I feel like I thought about it months before it actually happened, or I dreamt.
So you said you feel. So do you feel like it, or do you actually have? Does that make sense?
Well, I will say that my deja vu that I had recently was in my apartment, and I was looking up at the ceiling and speaking to one of my friends, and I remember when I had a dream about it, which is weird as well. That was the year prior, so I had no recollection, or I didn't know this apartment before this deja vu moment. But again, it's how I felt.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Heather. And
Let's get back into it.
awesome.
Been kept, and a large part of it is unconscious. Because there is so much information inside, it could match up with almost anything that you see in the world. And it could make, if you're gravitating towards something, the mind can create this illusion that you've already been there, because it has all the information needed to create a scene like that. It has everything in itself to do it. So I would say 90% of the time it's a psychological process. But there might have been sometimes, a few people
10%.
might have experienced this, that they went to a place and it's almost like everything about it they know. That is a real deja vu. But I would like to keep that percentage to 2% of the reality. Another 8% may be out of control mental reactions to certain things.
Wow, only 2%.
But in 2% of the
That's
cases, it
interesting.
may be true.
That is.
Why I'm bringing it down to this percentage is, people don't have control over their imagination. And if they like something, to assert that, they will create so many things in the background of their mind, which is all a psychological process, which is of no consequence. But sometimes it could be true that it is so. Is there such a thing? Yes, there is. But most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, I would advise you discount it. You just discount it as a psychological process, otherwise you will see, once you start believing in it, you will see it'll start happening to you everywhere. That means you're really going off control.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that was pretty intense.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, lots to, again, talk about here, unpack. Before we start, we'd love to hear what you think about what Sadhguru said about deja vu. Do you think, only 2% of it is real? And if not, what do you think the number is? Comment down below. But Heather, what are your thoughts?
Well, it kind of just tells me that it is just a processing. Our brain is slowly processing deja vu, or moments that we think we've seen before.
So it's almost like so Sadhguru has actually used this term quite often before, and it's called psychological drama. Would you maybe think it's something like that?
You need to elaborate on psychological drama.
Sure. So psychological drama, essentially what that is the idea that, so here's the thing, right? We have thoughts, we have feelings, we have emotions. It's not to say that they're not valid and that they're not real, but it's to realize that we shouldn't give as much importance to them as the existential reality. Right. Like, essentially, like you were talking about in the other video, like the reality of life, right? The sun, the mountains, all these beautiful things. But then, as he says, for example, one small thought we get upset by, but just literally, if you were to compare that small thought, like literally objectively compare the size of that to existence, it means so little. So essentially, it's just us creating this drama around that thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. So our thoughts become reality?
Yeah, it's not want to say reality per se, but we're just living in our mind, right? Instead of living in real life, we're living in our mind.
Yes, our thoughts are extremely loud. I do try to not listen to the little devil on the shoulder, always listen to the angel. But yeah, pay no mind to small negative thoughts, in other words.
Yeah, or just in general, even like, at least what I've heard from this other spiritual teacher, his name is Eckhart Tolle. Have you heard of him?
I think so, yeah.
Power of Now author, really cool book.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great book. A New Earth, if you've heard of that too.
Not that one, no.
You've read Power of Now?
I've read Power of Now, but not
Powerful. So I would actually recommend you, and even for you watching, A New Earth. It's powerful. And so comment down below if you've read it before, or if you want to read it. We'd love to hear what you think about that. But yeah, he says a very simple yet powerful line, which is that don't listen to your thoughts. As simple as that. Mm-hmm. And another way of looking at this is that, actually, let me ask you a question. Would you say you're thinking, or thinking is happening to you?
I'm definitely thinking.
Would you say that your heart is beating, or you're beating your heart?
My heart's beating.
So would you say the same thing with thoughts, or do you still think you're actually thinking? Or I guess, obviously we have the ability to think, right? So I can think of, a pink flower right now, the ones behind us.
Right.
So I'm actively thinking about it.
But you just saw those.
Yes.
So
is it me actually thinking, or thinking happening?
Did it already be presented towards you?
That's a question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, well, I think, yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm definitely boggled now, so.
Exactly. So it's just a really simple perspective thing, and it comes down to realizing how unconscious we tend to be and can be. And not that it's a bad or good thing, but just to realize that, right? And the moment you realize how you are unconscious and how you might think you're thinking, in fact, I feel like it's a very common phrase, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, but are you really thinking, or is thinking happening to you, right? So very simple question. But tying this back into the deja vu moments, I would definitely resonate. Again, I don't know, and this is where I'll keep it honest with you as well as you watching, the viewers. With Sadhguru, I've never always agreed with him, but I've never disagreed with him. So I think it's important, especially whoever you're listening to, even whether it's us, a guru, doesn't matter. Go in with an open mind. Don't be suspicious, because I feel like when you're suspicious, you're going in with like a negative, expectation. But be critical. I think it's super important to be critical, and that way you aren't just blindly believing in things, or also blindly dismissing things. What are your thoughts on what I've shared? I
agree with you about that. Not everything he does say I would agree with as well. But again, this is just coming from my perspective, and what I've learned and what I've been taught and what I've read. But always be open-minded.
Exactly. And I think I really value open discussion, freedom of speech, whatever you want to call it. So I definitely think it's important. Now, I might think what someone is saying is stupid, but I still value their right to speak what they want. I think, when we tend to suppress discussion, it leads to no growth. And I think conversation is important, right? I mean, regardless of what you have to say, what do you think?
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that, because if nobody really, let's say, when somebody teaches you something and somebody doesn't question you, I think that there is no stupid question,
I agree.
I feel like you should always question something that somebody has said, done, seen, heard, ate, read, drove, everything, but because everybody has a different perspective on it.
That's it. That's the key. I appreciate you sharing that really cool insight, as well as just pointers and perspectives on these topics. And we'd love to hear what you all think about what we've discussed, whether you agree, disagree. Open platform here. Comment down below. And if you have any other video reaction requests or personality guest types that you want to see on the show, you can also comment down below. And Heather, remind the viewers, where can they find you, or even your company that you work for?
Right. So again, I have an Instagram. It's HReneeXO. And I currently work at True Rest Float Spa. It's sensory deprivation. You float for 60 minutes on 10 inches of salt water. It's pretty nice and relaxing. So
that sounds super cool. And all of her stuff, as well as the company stuff and her social medias, will be down below. And with that, make it a great day. Take it joyfully and stay conscious. Awesome job, Heather.
Thank you.
You did great.